Scott just made the point.
Jefferson used to be a lot more secure, not just.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle, and welcome to part one of our three-part trifecta on the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness would be a damned inspiring line to write in a resort brochure. The entire idea that a nation and centuries of the lives of hundreds of millions of people might also be built on such an astonishing premise, well, that's an idea that needs a little further digging into. So in part one of this series, we'll look at how the pursuit of happiness sets Americans apart as a people. In part two, we'll examine how the progressive weenies who make up the disloyal opposition are doing everything they can to destroy the entire idea of individual happiness. And in our members-only part three, we will see what we can do to fight back against this assault on the all-American idea of fun. So, to get started, let's bring in my computer-assigned associate worker units, numbers 188-2991-02 and 973-9561-09. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, today is Dial-Up Tuesday here at PJTV, so if we got a little bit of an internet problem, it's not our fault. It's the NSA's taking up all our bandwidth, spying on us having fun. Now, gentlemen, I suppose everyone knows by now how the show got started. We were three friends who hadn't met yet. We went out for breakfast one cold morning at CPAC in Washington. We decided a show with just the three of us would be a lot of fun. And the rest, of course, is broadcasting history. Now, this past weekend, I was given the single greatest honor of my life when a group of actual Air Force fighter pilots, well, mostly fighter jocks, but a few bomber and tanker guys as well, even a Marine Corps helicopter pilot, all got in on the act. They actually went to the time and effort to hold a naming ceremony to give me an actual call sign. And guys, the flying we did before that event was the most fun I've ever had with my clothes on or off. Lots of 3-foot separation formation flying, low passes, high G turns, pull-ups, the whole thing. You have no idea how much fun I had. And the naming ceremony is not something I can talk about right now. I was so damn happy. And you know what? Happy people do fun and interesting things like, well, I don't know, develop the personal computer or go to the moon. So, Scotty, let's start with you, because you always have such great insight into the founders and where they're coming from. When Thomas Jefferson presented John Adams and Benjamin Franklin with his draft for the Declaration of Independence, they must have been pretty shocked, because my understanding is that the term life, liberty, and property had been in recent use at the time as ideals to be protected. But life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that must have blown some minds, huh?
In a sense it did, and in a sense it didn't. Depends on how much of their John Locke the guys had read. Because the phrase life, liberty, and property is really something that's drawn from Locke, but so is the pursuit of happiness, but just from a different Lockean work. And so when Jefferson picked that, it had a very peculiar meaning at that time that we may have lost touch with a little bit. The idea of happiness is not just doing whatever feels good right now, but it's really a broader sense of doing the thing that is the ultimate good for you, not just what titillates your senses at the moment. So to really pursue happiness is not just to say, hey, I'm going to go out and, and drink till I drop, or just indulge myself, but it's to really choose the good. It's to choose the right thing. And in that, this philosopher, Locke, synchronizes with what you find in the scriptures. It's not about so much fun as it is joy. It's that fulfilling sense that you're doing the ultimate good, not just for your own person, but for those around you and ultimately for God. And so Jefferson did a really clever thing there. And frankly, he has changed America with that little turn of phrase, because in almost every other country of the world, they were thinking when they got up in the morning, hey, I'd like to eat today. I'd like to really get through the day without being beaten by a stick. And their goals in life were much more modest. It's more of survival. We are actually a whole society that's built around the idea of finding true happiness.
Yeah, I believe the Greek definition of happiness was using all of your powers to your full abilities, and that's a remarkably different attitude than just going out and getting hammered. And by the way, the American dream is just exactly that, right? A little patch where I can be left alone to live my life as I see fit and make my own destiny. Now, Steve, as I said, I spent the weekend with active duty warriors, so let me show you just one example of our actual warriors on actual active duty. This is called aircraft marshaling. There are a bunch of videos like this on YouTube. You should go check them all out. Now, this man is happy, and this is called morale. Now, if you look at the Christmas of the salute coming up here, yes, sir. You can see that this is play, but it's not all play. It's precision. And what it really is actually it's excess competence. Our military men and women are so good at what they do that occasionally they'll just explode with that kind of exuberance. It's like a dolphin or a humpback whale just leaping out of the water just because they can. Now, if you contrast this American attitude of fundamental happiness with the sullenness and the alcoholism of the Russian military, let's say, that kind of conscripted, raw misery, you come to realize it's not about the hardware. It's the people that are the weapons, and happy people are kind and decent and restrained, but they're also very, very deadly weapons, aren't they, Steve?
You look at that, Joy. I mean, imagine what those videos must tell our enemies, those people who we want to fear us. We are telling them with these videos just up on YouTube, this is how well we drive our airplanes on the tarmac. What an amazing message that must send to the guys who need to hear that message. You know, I know Viper pilots. I know for our viewers who might not know, Viper was the development name of the F-16. Guys who fly it still call it the Viper. They don't call it the F-16 Eagle. My father-in-law flew F-16s. His unit in Spain, I think in 1979 or 1980, was the first overseas unit to turn in their F-4s for F-16s, and he is more proud of that than you can imagine. He flew F-4s over North Vietnam for a year, and that's something he doesn't talk about. That's not really the joy part of the job. But I want to take what Scott said and sort of turn it on its head just a little bit. Melissa and I got to pursue our happiness last week. We took a quick little 3 or 4 day foodie tour of Las Vegas, which is a city that has absolutely no reason to exist other than to entertain and to amuse, and maybe not always in the most wholesome ways. But you know, it's there. It's that one spot in the desert for people to pursue their own happinesses, whether it's the way Melissa and I do, which is to go to all the best restaurants, or the way other people do, which is to go to the shows, or the way some people do, which is to sit in front of a slot machine and drop quarters in it all day. I don't see the joy in that, but that's not my happiness to pursue. But you know what? We're losing that in the name of illusory rights. We are giving up our essential liberties, and you can still find joy, that temporary, fleeting thing, with these illusory rights, but you give up the pursuit of happiness, and happiness is a much more lasting and deep feeling than you get from simple joy, which is fleeting, and in the end, it doesn't last. It can't.
And we're going to talk about that, losing our freedoms and fun in the name of progressive weaningdom in our next episode. By the way, for those of you fans out there, another nickname for the F-16 Falcon was the electric jet, because that had a fly-by-wire system. The controls, first time ever, controls weren't directly linked. And they had a few problems with the first of those tests, so the other name that they gave the F-16 was the lawn dart. My friends, you know, we can meta this argument all we want to. You know, the economic benefits of happy people seeking their own self-interest and achieving everyone else's as a delightful byproduct. Or we could talk about the inventions that not only save us drudgery and time, but actually fill us with genuine delight. We could talk about the daily fact of 300 million well-fed, safe people. It's almost unique in history. None of that really matters. The only thing that really does matter, though, is this. Each person on Earth who has ever lived has their one single life to lead, and that's all. That's all you get. And the idea that one single life could amount to more than toil and misery in service of the king or the duke or the sultan, you know, it's an actual miracle. And it's one that only starts to fray when we take it for granted, so don't. Now, in part 2, we're going to look at why some mean-spirited people want to take away our happiness for their own political power. And in part 3, for members only, we'll discuss some of the ways we can actually stop them. For Steve Green, Scott Ott, and the rest of the happy crew here at PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.
Save off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that.